I'm Sarah Armstrong-Smith and I'm a Chief Security Advisor at Microsoft. So what's one of those? In essence, my role is to liaise with Microsoft's largest enterprise customers across Europe. So that's multi-sector and multi-country. It tends to be CISOs, CIOs, CTOs, and it really is about understanding their challenges when it comes to cybersecurity. The reason why I wrote my new book, Understand the Cyber Attacker Mindset, was to really understand the humans behind some of the most prolific cyber attacks in history. And I think all too often when we're talking about cybersecurity, it's all from a technology perspective. So how do we secure cloud? How do we secure networks and endpoints and various infrastructure? And that's important, but actually what we have to understand is the objective and motivation of the attackers who are performing the cyber attack. So in essence, there could be 1,000,001 methods of doing a cyber attack. So we talk about phishing and malware and ransomware attacks, but actually there's only a finite number of motivations behind it. And that was the bit I was really trying to get across, is really trying to understand the different types of cyber attackers and how much they're motivated. So there's a common misconception, let's say, that a lot of cyber attackers are financially motivated, particularly when we talk about ransomware and various things like that. But actually there's a whole proportion of people who are not financially motivated. So if we talk about activists, for example, they are motivated by social justice. We have opportunists, we have insider threats, and we also have nation-state actors. And so what I was really trying to understand, if you can understand the human motivation, why they're trying to do what they're doing, the level of persistence that that person or group may have, we can start to think about things in a different mindset. But then I'm trying to get people to understand that if you understand the level of manipulation that a lot of the attackers are doing, then we can learn to counteract that level of manipulation in particular. Yeah, there's two key elements, what we call cyber operations and cyber influence operations. So cyber operations is your traditional cyber attacks. So we talk about the Russian invasion of Ukraine as a good example. So we saw more cyber attacks against Ukraine in the first 4 months than the previous 8 years. And they had specifically created new malware, new forms of destructive attacks designed to hit Ukraine's critical infrastructure. So they're trying to hit energy, communications, media. And the idea is if I can knock all of those things out as quickly as possible, then I follow up with missile strikes, for example. I'm completely paralyzed in terms of what I do and how I do it. And so from the idea is that you would probably surrender very quickly. So that's kind of one of the traditional, what we call cyber attacks. Cyber influence operations is utilizing disinformation and propaganda in particular. And we're seeing more and more of that from different threat actors. So when we think about how much of the world is just about to go through various different elections, and so in essence that they take to social media because so many people have got used to finding things online. They find a story, they want to learn more, whatever they're interested in. And so they utilize that as a way of manipulating people by giving fake news or deep fakes of various different people or different organizations. And slowly but surely it starts to change people's perspective on, let's say, high profile people or high profile topics. So you start to change how your opinion, you start to kind of go against your own government. And this is the kind of the long game that a lot of the threat actors in particular are really playing. So again, if I use the example of Ukraine, so for example, they might turn around and say, well, the reason why your interest rates are going up, the reason why you can't get access to services, the reason why you can't afford to get a mortgage these days is because your government is funding the war and supporting the war and doing various different things. And what it's trying to do is for you to basically change how you view refugees. as an example. So the refugees become the enemy of you trying to get access to services. And that's kind of how they do that, this psychological manipulation without people even realizing it. Different groups of people see different stories and different narratives, and then they start to put barriers up of each of those. So you could be pro or against either one of those groups, but it's all part of a longer term campaign to manipulate people's thought processes. Well, I think one of the key things that we're talking about, particularly with regards to cybersecurity, is a lot of companies are investing in different technologies. So how do I detect the actual cyber attack? So it's the malware, it's the phishing, it's all of these type of things. And the technology is getting better and better at detecting like small anomalies, blocking those anomalies, making it harder for the attacker to fulfill that objective, whatever that objective is. So in essence, if I cannot get my objective through traditional means, because the technology is that good at identifying, blocking, and doing all the things that the technology is designed for, I'm going to revert back to the human. I'm going to get the human to do what I need them to do. Hence why we start going backwards to the psychological warfare, social engineering. So in essence, why would I waste my time breaking into your network when I can get you to willingly give up your credentials by me sending you a phishing email? And so it's just, do I need to pay you? Do I need to entice you? Or do I need to blackmail you? But either way, it's as we said, it's the social engineering, the psychological warfare part of getting someone to do what I need you to do. Where there's a will, there's a way. Well, I think with any technology, it can be used for good or bad. I think that's a starting point. So when we're thinking about these large language models, generative AI, ChatGPT in particular, it's now in the social domain. And so not only do you have people thinking about how could I use all this technology for good? So we're seeing science and medical breakthroughs and all of the amazing things that AI come with. We then have these threat actors who go, well, how can I use AI for my purposes? And that could be to accelerate their type of attack. How do I automate it? How do I learn about new things? So we give you some examples of what we're seeing already. So you think about ChatGPT as a good example. It's a way of gathering knowledge about different subjects. And so in essence, it's like, well, tell me everything I need to know about that Microsoft operating system that so many companies utilize, like Windows. So if I wanted to get this malware, or if I wanted to attack in this way, what would I need to do? How would I hide my tracks? How would I take this script and automate it? How would I refine the code? So you're not asking the AI of how do I build a phishing email? How do I build malware? Because it has safe breaks. It has what we call jailbreaks built in. I'm absolutely not going to do that because it's illegal. But you ask it in a roundabout way, it can give you information about how to do something. But the reverse of that, as defenders, is being able to, as we spoke about before, which is then show me where this image has been created by AI, has been doctored by AI, or if someone, let's say a threat actor had managed to refine the code in the malware and injected that into a website, I could use the AI in reverse to basically run across, look at this website, look at the code in this website. Does something look unusual? Was something added without me knowing about it? When was it added? Why was it added? What does it do? What's it connected to? What's the end objective of this code in essence? So it's the same thing from two different purposes. I would sort of say the massive benefit, like from what Microsoft talks about, is the fact that we as defenders, if you like, so the security community, we have more data, more intelligence, and more collaboration than all of the other threat actors. So how we can take all of that information and put it to good. So we are kind of tipping the balance back into the realm, if you like, of defenders in terms of how we're utilising this technology, but it will be a matter of time before it kind of comes up. I'm really trying to get people to focus on the people and the data fundamentally, as opposed to just the infrastructure and the technology. So the more that we can be more cognizant about that, it just changes our entire mindset with how we think about security in its widest sense. So no longer are we just thinking about cybersecurity from a technology perspective. It touches on every single aspect of our life, and it's something we need to think about right from the very start of whatever we're doing. And I think that's kind of where I kind of come in terms of having those conversations with those big enterprises that I was talking about, but also educating downwards into the small companies and to people themselves, ultimately. So the more that we can actually get people into the right mindset to understand why they might be a victim, the more we can think about how we help them ultimately to be safe and secure on an online world.